welcome to another exciting web video for my master's program. This is the definition of e-learning and how it can be used in an online setting. All the references for this PowerPoint can be found in this book. This is Risers and Dempsey's Trends and Issues in Instructional Design and Technology, 3rd edition, copyright 2012. Defining e-learning. From the text, the definition of e-learning is pretty much all learning involving technology in any way whatsoever. So PowerPoints, email, Excel spreadsheets, webcasting, weblogs, wikis, blogs, using Skype, using email, using text messaging. Those would all be different forms of e-learning. The second part of the assignment said to discuss collaboration and related tools. Some of those I just mentioned. If you're going to collaborate with an online forum, whether it's your instructor with other students, you could use Skype, you could use email, you could use a form of instant messaging, like AOL Instant Messaging or ICQ, something like that. Facebook and other forms of social media. You know, a few years ago, MySpace was big, but right now it's Facebook, and now people seem to be, there's a little bit of growth with the Google+. Jing is another form. We've done some videos where we've had to take screenshots or take web videos of what we've done on our computers using Jing. It's a great program for online collaboration as well. In terms of discussing ways that learners can communicate, collaborate, and interact, a lot of those same ways. We've had discussions through email, we've had discussions through Skype in previous master's classes. I've had several one-on-one conversations and group conversations. We have the online forum where we have our 2 discussions every week, and that's a way for online collaboration as well. One of the things that I've talked about in other assignments for this course is, even though we have I've been in some classes with these same people for several months now, and have had very few opportunities to actually talk in a one-on-one, face-to-face, Skype or web video like this. But hopefully as the program progresses, we'll have more opportunities for that as well. Explaining the role of instruction design models. The definition from the Riser and Dempsey text for the role of instruction design models, the definition of it is a system of procedures developing education and training curricula in a consistent and reliable fashion. So, example, you create your objective, you evaluate what instructional strategies you're going to use, you identify the type of technological media that you're going to use, you try it out, you decide if it works or not. If something works well, then you continue to use it. If something didn't work very well, then maybe you change the lesson plan a little bit. As a teacher of world history, I teach 4 periods of it in a row in the morning. So what I often find myself doing is trying something out first period, take what works, use it the rest of the day, and what doesn't work first period, maybe I don't use it second period. And very often my 4th period class might look a little different than my 1st period class. In an online setting like this, if something doesn't work for an online instructor, unfortunately there may not be anything that you can do until the next session of the class when you have all new students. But that could still work pretty well. You could change things up. I'm sure that some of these courses that we've been taking here at Ashford on an online setting aren't exactly how they were when they were originally created. Explaining how you will leverage technology to enhance learning. I use technology to enhance my lesson, whether it's PowerPoints, videos, using a digital projector. We have little clickers where we can get student poll data very quickly. We can ask them a multiple choice question, and the little receivers have A, B, C, or D, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and they can show us their answers without having to raise their hand, and we have a bunch of people shouting out. We use those. We have a computer lab. Unfortunately, at Paris High, with 2,500 students, we only have 3 computer labs, each one with about 35 computers. So out of 2,500 students, we only have about 100 computers for the students to use. But I do try to use it as much as possible. We've got a student who now has an iPad too. He brings that to class. He takes notes on it. I tell him that he is not allowed to just print out the notes, but he does have to, not allowed to just print them out simply. He has to print them out in a Cornell style of note-taking, where he has to have annotations to the left. This prevents him from taking notes and then printing out copies for everyone in class, and they all just turn it in. But I think tablets like the iPad 2 may be the way of the future. Obviously, we're nowhere near having the funds for every student to have one, but it is a nice thing to have. You've got internet access, you've got a possibility to do Skyping and online communication and collaboration. So tablets could definitely be the future of e-learning. One of the things we talked about previously in this class with other students in the discussion forum was, will we have textbooks in the future, or online textbooks and e-textbooks the way of the future? Discuss best practices for media use. I want students to enjoy the technology that they use in the classroom, but I don't want that to be the main focus. As a teacher of world history and government, I don't want my students to go home and when they're asked what they learned, they say, well, we learned this really cool Facebook game. If we're using Facebook or some kind of social media as a tool to get them the standards, that's great, but they still need to learn the content. They have to be able to, perform on the state test in the spring, because those state tests are not going to be on Facebook. They're not going to be, given on an iPad 2. They have to know how to still take standardized tests in kind of the old school method, but I still use technology in my classroom. Discuss ways to manage virtual courses. Obviously, you have to have some kind of student interaction. You can't just have an online professor listing assignments and then 20 or 50 students are doing them completely independent with absolutely no collaboration. I think that Ashford does do a good job with its collaboration, having us do 2 discussions a week, so that every 6 weeks you're doing at least 12 forms of communication with other students. You can make postings, you can make responses, and you can have responses to those responses. It can go back and forth. I think that works well. I think student collaboration on group projects is something that we haven't seen yet. This is my 5th class at Ashford and we haven't had any group projects. I think doing 1 or 2 would be an interesting task. Obviously there are drawbacks. There are people from all over the country in this course. It would be problematic if a member of your team lived in New York and they went to bed at 9 o'clock New York time, and that's when the people on the West Coast are just getting home from work. So it would be difficult for them to work together. But I think it would be interesting just to try some kind of collaboration in an online e-learning setting. I think you have to set the ground rules to avoid issues. If you want students to make constructive criticism of other students' work, I think you have to maybe give examples of what constructive criticism is, so that you don't have students hurting each other's feelings or getting personal in their criticism of other students' work. But I think so far, again, this is my 5th class at Ashford, I think that's worked well. I haven't felt that anybody's crossed a line in their comments. Of course, I've really only read the comments made on my post or along the lines of the postings I've made for other people's work. I haven't looked at every single one, so it's possible there could be some issues out there. Discuss ways to best teach in a virtual classroom. I think you need to have a course outlined well in advance, and Ashford does a good job with that. You can't have students working one week and not knowing what the next week holds for them. This holds especially true here in the holiday season. We have work due Thursday night, and Thursday night is Thanksgiving. So I'm not going to sit down 2 hours before it's due on Thursday night, because I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to be with family, and so I'm going to have to plan ahead. And so it's nice that I can look at this course's outline, its timeline, and I can say, well, okay, I'll do that Tuesday afternoon, or I'll do that Wednesday afternoon. You could also look in advance to see what's the final project going to be. How much time do I need to set aside? There are people in this class that like to do their work early. I kind of procrastinate, put it off until the last evening. Here it is, Monday night. Got the project due in a couple hours, and I'm working on it right now. I do usually give myself 2 to 3 hours to work on it, because I found that that's about how much time I need. But if I were to sit down on a Monday night with 3 hours to go and find out that my assignment is a 12-page paper, I'm not going to have enough time. So it is nice in an online e-learning setting to know what you're going to have to do for the entire course. It's laid out for you. The grade book, percentage-wise, knowing what assignments are going to be weighted more heavily than others, that's a nice addition as well. So that kind of goes with the e-learning. As I said, for references, use the course textbook, and that's it. Thank you for coming into my home.